They say age is a number, but what about if you're moving to New Zealand and you want residency and you're over the age of 56? What then?
Been above that age threshold of 56 because we need them, we need their skills, they're going to come and contribute to New Zealand. Technically, yes, anyone could go ahead and apply for an age waiver, but
in this week's episode, we're going to chat with our favourite immigration advisor, Charlotte from NZ Shores, and we're going to talk all about the age waiver. How you can apply to Immigration New Zealand and get a waiver if you are over the age of 56. This is a fantastic episode for anyone in their later years, so sit back and enjoy Charlotte. NZ Ahead, coming to you from Taranaki, New Zealand.
Got it.
Charlotte, welcome back to the NZ Ahead podcast. We are thrilled to have you here with us.
thank you so much for having me back again, guys. Love to be here.
Our favourite immigration advisor, and today you're going to be talking to us about something called an age waiver. So let's jump straight in. What is an age waiver and how do you apply for it to come to New Zealand?
Yeah, so this is very much a niche topic of conversation and definitely something that's not going to apply to everyone listening to this today. But immigration have what we call the instruction manual. So they're for immigration advisors or lawyers. That's like our Bible. It tells us who is eligible, how different policy affects different types of visas. And under each visa, there is criteria that a person has to meet. For a lot of our skilled migrants, you have to be under the age of 56 to apply. So typically you can apply up until the day you turn 56, so it's 55 inclusive. But in some circumstances, we can apply to waive that criteria. So it's a process we go through where a request is made to the immigration minister or the associate immigration minister, and a case has to be put forward under what is called a special direction. So a special direction is a submission, like I said, to one of the ministers where we have to basically make an argument as to why that criteria should be waived. So it's a very unique process. It's not something you can do directly through the immigration website or any of their visa platforms, and it typically is best handled by an immigration advisor or a lawyer just because we have the knowledge to navigate it. But it's a special request you make before you even go ahead and apply for a visa.
Okay.
All right. So what you just saying then, like 55 years old. So if I start an application when I'm 55, but it doesn't get completed until I'm 56 and a half, say, would I then have to apply for a age waiver then?
No, so it's only if you, as long as, you could get your residence application in the day before your 56th birthday and you'd be okay because it's based on date of submission. So if you turn 56 while your resident visa is processing, it's not something you even have to consider because you've submitted while you were still within that eligibility criteria window. It's an age waiver is typically we look at people who have already surpassed that 56 age bracket and they are looking at coming and staying in New Zealand for whatever reason. So it's, okay, I'm 56 plus and I want to come and reside permanently. So we go through a process of actually applying to the minister to request them to be allowed to do so.
Right, got you. And is there an age limit that you can stop? Because obviously if someone was 96 and they're still working, which I don't know whether you would be, would that still apply then?
There's no particular cutoff. So there's nothing in immigration policy that says, again, because this sits outside our policy, this sits outside our immigration Bible. There's nothing within that says you have to be under a certain age to apply for an age waiver. But the older you get, the harder it's going to get. So if you were 96 and still working, go you, that's amazing. But chances are by 96, you're probably going to have some health concerns. And Immigration New Zealand would probably be worried you're going to be a bit of a drain on the healthcare system potentially. And would it be worth it? So typically, we have a 100% success rate in this space, but we are also really careful with who we take on. So it's not something that anyone can come to us and say, I want to apply for an age waiver, because we may say, no, sorry, chances are lower, whether it's because you're not deemed to be of critical need to New Zealand, or it may be that, hey, you're 80 something, and we may think chances are you're not going to meet the other criteria associated with that visa. So immigration may give you an age waiver, or the minister may say, yes, we're going to waive the age requirement, but then you still have to meet the rest of the criteria associated with that visa. So you might not pass your medical because of your age. So that is definitely just something to be aware of, that yeah, we could get the waiver because you're a 96-year-old doctor and immigration minister thinks you're of great asset, but are you actually going to pass the rest of that application?
Okay. So two things there. One, you're talking to someone who intends to be weightlifting when he's about 150, because that's what he's told me. So, and two, you mentioned doctor. Is this something that is this age waiver, can anyone apply for it, or do you have to have like a special... So
like a tradie or something?
Yeah. Who can apply? Who's eligible to apply for an age waiver?
The people that we typically see applying for age waivers, I mentioned doctors because we do actually do age waivers for a lot of doctors. And New Zealand needs healthcare professionals. So we have a really good, strong argument there as to say, okay, we've got a doctor or a nurse or a psychologist, whatever it might be. We are on what we call the green list, which is our long-term skill shortage list for New Zealand. We can demonstrate that there is a clear need for this person to actually be able to reside in New Zealand despite being above that age threshold of 56, because we need them, we need their skills. They're going to come and contribute to New Zealand. Technically, yes, anyone could go ahead and apply for an age waiver, but if you are in an occupation which isn't hard to source, or you're not going to be providing a great asset to New Zealand, it's going to get harder. So if you are a tradie, you're going to find it 100 times harder to get an age waiver approved than what you would if you were a doctor or a teacher or a psychologist or working for NASA. I don't know. You know, like you have to be quite a unique and special individual. You might, for example, be a rocket scientist who's worked at NASA, who's coming to work for Rocket Lab, for example, and you have these crazy skills that there's no way anyone in New Zealand's ever going to have, in which case, yes, you probably would get an age waiver, but it is very much case-by-case basis, and you can't guarantee it because at the end of the day, it's either the immigration minister or the associate minister who are signing off on those decisions, and they're very careful with that too, because it has come back to bite them in the past where they've been found out to approve these special directions to people they probably shouldn't, and then they get in a bit of hot water. So they are typically very careful as to who they do say, yes, we're going to waive this criteria, or no, we're not.
Yeah. I know we did have someone in our NZ Head community who was a palliative nurse carer. And I believe she got an age waiver as well. Yeah, she would, exactly, because it's a niche thing, really. But I mean, like a special direction can be applied for anything. It's kind of one of these things where I submitted one for an English language waiver, for example, last week. Not sure how it's going to pan out, but you can actually go and submit a special direction for anything, because you're saying, right, we're ignoring the immigration policy manual. We're going to go and try and say, please grant me a visa, or please allow me to apply for a visa because I have XYZ exceptional circumstances. Right.
So are you saying that because you just mentioned a teacher, are you saying that if you think, you know, say I'm over in the UK and I think I've got a special talent, I'm a certain sort of teacher that, like, there's not many of us around, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but say like you taught a certain subject that was really specialist, would it be worth me, and I'm 65, say, would it be worth me applying or coming to you at least and saying, do you think I've got a chance?
I think it would be worth it. So anything which we see on that long-term skill shortage list, I mean, immigration have already identified those occupations are either hard to recruit for or hard to train for. So those people are already hard to source. So if you can be, typically for a teacher, we'd probably definitely recommend you're in the country. So you would want to be here working and already contributing to New Zealand before applying. So we'd bring you out on a work visa first. We'd then get you working and then say, all right, you're here, you're contributing. This is how you're benefiting New Zealand already. But yes, I mean, you could try. We have seen them approved for teachers, but it is ultimately, it's in the art of the argument, right? So it's in the art of how well you can put an argument forward to either of those two ministers to say, this is why I think I should be granted a waiver. So yeah, we could try if probably if you worked in the STEM field, so science, technology, engineering, maths as a teacher, you've probably got greater chance than if you are a PE teacher or an arts teacher, for example, because there's probably a lot more of them. Whereas we know we really need those teachers in STEM. So again, it all comes down to like, what's the balancing act of what can you provide that New Zealand needs, and why should Immigration New Zealand actually allow you to apply for that visa after that age cutoff?
Right.
Is approval guaranteed? I mean, should I go for it anyway and think, oh, well, maybe? Or like what? I know you said you had a great success rate just before, but is it guaranteed?
You are here because you love New Zealand.
You might be moving to New Zealand.
Living in New Zealand.
Or you might just spend your days dreaming of visiting this gorgeous country.
Because we love New Zealand as much as you do, we have compiled a short and very unique
5-day video series showcasing life in New Zealand, what it's really like. These videos are real, they are exclusive, and best of all, they're absolutely free. So if you would like to view New Zealand from the inside out and find out what life is really like down here, sign up now, and every day for 5 days we will send you a personal 3-minute video showcasing some brilliant aspect of life in New Zealand. You are gonna love it. Go to
nzahead.com/free.
We can't wait to share those videos with you. Okay, let's get back on with the show.
But
is it guaranteed? Or is it really just like you say, it's just up to them? Yeah.
It's not guaranteed in any way and form. You are basically saying, please, sir, grant me a favour, for lack of a better term. We are very much asking for a favour from Immigration New Zealand. So it's not guaranteed. Immigration New Zealand, they charge $200 for a special direction. So if it then gets through the Minister's office and they say, yes, we're happy to approve the special direction, the immigration fee is actually quite cheap at $200, but you will obviously pay a fee to someone like us for our expertise to actually go through that process. But if you came to us and said, I really want to go through this process, I want to apply for an age waiver, we would look at it with, realistic eyes and say, yes, we think there's probably a good chance, or no, there's not, but we still can't guarantee what the minister is going to do. So we can try our best. We can put forward a really good argument. Yes, we do have a 100% success rate, but that is also because we are quite particular about what we do put forward to request as well. So we are quite careful in that space.
Yeah, that's where I got confused, because I heard the 100% success rate, and I should have been listening better, because what you're saying is you only pick out people who you think are going to go through, and your success rate is 100%.
Correct.
And on that note, can we do it ourselves, or is it best to use a lawyer or an immigration advisor when it comes to something like this?
With anything in the immigration system, you can do it yourself. So there's nothing that says you are obligated to use someone like us. But chances are you're probably going to have potentially a better outcome if you do, because you're going to have years of experience, from a person actually going ahead and doing that for you. So only our very senior team members at this stage will manage a special direction until we're confident that our more junior advisors in the team are competent, and then we sit through and we go with them and we provide training to upskill, because it's a debate almost. You're almost having a debate with Immigration New Zealand as to why should you allow me to do this. So it's in the art of the argument, right? You've got to present your best argument, and if it's not done in the right way, or you don't provide enough information, the minister's office will just come back and say, no, sorry, we're not proceeding. So, and that's not to say you can't go and try again. There's nothing at all that says you can't try 10 times to submit a special direction to the minister's office, but by that point, you've probably, in terms of like, if you're quantifying your time, you probably could have paid someone like us to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, got you.
On that note, do you actually make the argument, or like, do they put an essay or a video forward, or how does that work? Who actually goes to the minister and says, "Oh, can we please have this"?
So as advisors, we write a supporting letter. So the last letter I sent off for a waiver was about 10 pages long. But on top of that, we provide supporting documentation to actually back up what we're saying in our letter. So for someone like a doctor, it's quite easy. The argument is not that hard to make, particularly if they have a job offer in New Zealand. We can say, right, here's this. I actually have one doctor at the moment who is in a very niche field with a salary of over 350,000, and that argument for us is going to be quite easy. He's over the age of 56, but here he's been hired into this unique role that this company or this private hospital virtually can't hire any Kiwis because we don't train hardly any. So that's quite an easy argument. We'd provide evidence of his employment. We'd provide a support letter from the employer to say, this is why we really need this person to stay in New Zealand permanently. This is going to be the outcome on the health system. But the level of documentation we provide and support would differ depending on what the occupation was, who the person was. If they're already in the country working, we look to obtain evidence of what is their contribution to New Zealand, and not just employment-wise, but outside of that. So are they part of their community? Do they belong to a church or a sports group? Or have they made friends? Are they settling in? So we pull on lots of different resources to show that actually, so it's not just, hey, you've got a job offer in this particular field. We try to show that as a whole, this person's going to be of contribution to New Zealand because they've settled into their community. They're providing a service, whatever it may be. So we draw on lots of different sources to kind of create an argument to say, this is why this person should be allowed to stay.
Yeah, becoming a good Kiwi then. Yeah.
But how can they be in New Zealand if they're too old? How can they be in New Zealand in the first place, though?
So there's no age limit on a work visa. So for these people, particularly for my doctor at the moment that I just referenced, he's coming out to New Zealand first on a work visa. He's already got his offer of employment. So for him, we probably could apply for the special direction for the request to the minister before he even arrives, but it takes time. So special direction takes probably about 4 months to work its way through the minister's office. Employers typically want people here before that. So we bring these people out on work visas, which have no age cutoff. They're in the country working while that's processing in the background. And then once we get the yes from the minister, that then allows us to go and apply for the visa. So I will just add that if you can't apply, there's absolutely no way of applying for an age waiver when you submit a residence application. So you can't go and submit your skilled migrant or your straight to residence application after you turn 56 without approval from the minister, because if you do, an immigration officer is just going to look at it and say, well, you don't meet policy because you're over the age of 56. So it would be an outright decline. The only way we can circumnavigate that is to get approval from the minister's office first, and then we can go ahead and submit the application with immigration, because then we've got the document which has come from the minister's office to say we're going to waive this age requirement for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm asking really obvious questions.
That's
it's just
okay.
I'm trying to get right into it. I've got one really obvious. I've got a really silly question. Maybe it might be one last one, I promise. But with people living longer now, and all the longevity thing and all that, has the age limit been? Has it risen, and is it likely to rise? In the last 10 years, what has it risen from? And do you think it's likely to rise in the future?
So it hasn't changed since I've been doing this job, and I've been an advisor for 11 years this year.
Right.
The age cutoff for residency is has been largely centred around how long a person has to work in New Zealand to actually be eligible for superannuation for a government pension. So it used to be that you had to work in New Zealand for 10 years before you could be eligible for a government pension. So hence, if they have the cutoff 55 inclusive, by the time you reach 65, which is the retirement age here in New Zealand, you would have been eligible for that. The rules have slightly changed for superannuation based on when you were born and then how long you've lived in New Zealand. So it's a table that I couldn't even rattle off the top of my head. But if you are interested, you can Google eligibility for NZ superannuation. That table will pop up and tell you how long you should work in New Zealand before you're actually eligible for that. So that's where that came from initially. Because it came from there, I don't see it changing, because, regardless, to be eligible for a New Zealand pension, you have to work in New Zealand for a period of time. So I don't know, maybe if they put the pension age up, which is a highly contentious issue for anyone that's probably following New Zealand politics. If they put the pension age up, maybe we'd see that age threshold shift. I'm not sure. But it's been 55 for as long as I can, remember, for the last decade at least. And I think for a long time prior to that, it was as well.
Yeah, it's like you say, that's going to be that 10-year sort of working life, isn't it? But if you're on 350k, I didn't think you're going to be bothered about a New Zealand pension.
No.
No.
Loaded on.
No, I don't think he is.
I've probably got a private one in the background somewhere, eh?
Yeah. Oh, and a lot of people do, particularly if you're already kind of above that 60 age bracket and you're coming from the likes of the US or the UK. A lot of these people do have private pensions, which would pay out far more than our government pension here in New Zealand would. So, yeah, comparatively.
Yeah.
So before we let you go, is there anything we haven't asked you or you think people should know? Are there any, anything else that we haven't covered here?
How can we get hold of you and start that process?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate so everyone's got it clear in their mind, because I know we've kind of jumped around a little bit today, is that if this is something you're interested in doing, one, I would definitely come and speak to us first, even if it's just for no obligation consultation, because we can say, yes, you've got a chance, or, hey, we think it's a little bit higher risk, be prepared for a decline, because we don't think your chances are that strong. So whether it's us or another consultancy, I would make sure you get an honest opinion from an advisor or a lawyer first. But if you decide to do it yourself, do just remember that you can't go and apply for your visa outright because it will be declined. So if this is something you are wanting to do, you have to make that request to the minister first and have their approval to actually waive that age requirement before you go and apply for your visa, because a resident visa is $6,500 New Zealand dollars. So you don't want to go submitting an application which 100% will be declined. So you just got to make sure you get your steps right before you go ahead and submit the application.
That's fantastic advice. And just to remind people as well that Charlotte is part of our NZ Ahead community Slack group. She's in there with her own channel. You're absolutely fantastic. The amount of people that come back to us, Charlotte, and just say, I couldn't have done it without you. And I'm not just saying that to big you up. I mean, I'm being really honest. Honestly, we get so much positive feedback about your company and about you guys.
We've got Nikki from As the Kiwi Flies, and she gave you a glowing report the other day, didn't she?
Nikki, I worked with Nikki and her family for about 4 or 5 years. So, they were an honour to work with. And look, I do try and take on as many clients as I can, but I can't take on everyone. So it isn't just me. I am not the only face here at New Zealand Shores. I have an amazing team here with me as well. So look, if you see my face online, you think, oh, we'd really love her, but I can't take you, then there is someone else equally as good to pick you up. So
absolutely. So the best way for people to start this process is to take the no obligation, the quiz that you provide, and we can put that in the link below. We'll obviously leave all your email below and put it on the screen so they can contact you.
Which is charlotte@nzshores.com, isn't it?
Yep. Correct.
Charlotte
And in this case, I'd probably just recommend sending an email rather than going through our general eligibility assessment, just because you will get flagged for age. So if this is something you think you are interested in, send us an email first, and then we can kind of, we may then decide the eligibility assessment is the most appropriate port of call first from there. But I think an email in this particular case is definitely worth it, just to make sure that you're getting that right information to begin with, rather than going through some random assessment channel that we have, which is good if you're someone who is under the age of 56. The eligibility assessment is great, but for unique circumstances, we do recommend you reach out, because we can kind of give you that kind of one-on-one advice right off the bat.
Yeah, and it's great because a lot of people think they are too old. And we had a great example. We've just done a podcast with Chris and Hope. And he was 55 and straight into New Zealand within about 6 months. And I just think how brilliant was that? It was a great story, wasn't it?
It really was,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really glad that we're doing this podcast here today. So
and it just shows that you can be that bit older as well and go for the waiver if you've got the right job.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So Charlotte, thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, if you're watching this and you want to reach out to Charlotte, we'll put all her details below, but she is in our Slack community. It's a fantastic community to be in. You can find that community by taking the free 5-day video guide, and that will lead to it. But until next time, Charlotte, thank you so much for joining us. You're our favourite immigration advisor, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Okay.
No, thanks, Charlotte.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Some people want to move to New Zealand because they can't stand where they're living, but not everyone feels like that. Maybe you, like us, are one of those people that just feel like you're bashing your head against the brick wall. Like, what's wrong with you? You live in a really nice place, your kids enjoy the school, you've worked hard in your job to get to where you are now, your family live down the road. So why do you want to move to New Zealand?
House would be worth a lot now, Les.
Don't wind me up about that. Do not wind me up about that, Bri.
I know.
That house has tripled in value
It
since we
probably
sold
has.
it.
Yeah.
Idiots. In this week's episode, we're going to explore a topic that is so common, and that's the feeling of why do you want to leave where you are to go somewhere else? We're going to give you the answers to that question, so let's jump on in and find out why.